Keep the change, boy. Buy yourself some better clothes. Rachel Morrison flicked the $47.83 straight into the trash bin. Bills disappeared between coffee grounds and food waste. She wiped her fingers on a napkin like touching the money disgusted her. Marcus Thompson's jaw clenched. The entire restaurant went silent. Did you just... what? Throw away pocket change? Rachel's voice rose deliberately. That ratty outfit screams you need every penny. Maybe try the soup kitchen down the street. A businessman gasped. The college student's camera was already rolling. Kitchen staff emerged to stare. Rachel grabbed disinfectant spray and doused the counter where Marcus had placed his money. We maintain standards here. The 34-year-old stood frozen as his cash sat buried in garbage. His expensive leather portfolio suddenly felt meaningless. Have you ever watched someone strip away your dignity in public while having no idea you held the power to destroy their entire world? Rachel's eyes swept Marcus from head to toe like a predator sizing up prey. Sir, are you absolutely certain you can afford our prices? This isn't McDonald's. She spoke slowly, enunciating each word like addressing a confused child. Her body language screamed superiority, arms crossed, weight shifted back, chin tilted up in barely concealed disgust. The digital health inspection countdown displayed 8 minutes remaining in red letters above the kitchen pass. I'd like to speak with your manager, Marcus said calmly. Honey, you're looking at her. Rachel's laugh was sharp, brittle. And I'm telling you this establishment caters to a different clientele. People with actual standards. Behind Marcus, a white businessman in an identical button-down approached the counter. Rachel's transformation was instant and surgical. Her shoulders dropped, smile brightened like theater lights, voice turned honey-sweet. Good afternoon. What can I get started for you today, sir? Large cappuccino, no foam, the man said curtly, barely looking up from his phone. Absolutely! Coming right up. She moved with practiced efficiency, pulling espresso shots with careful attention. Beautiful weather today, isn't it? Perfect for outdoor dining. The contrast was devastating in its precision. Same counter, same minute, completely different human being. Marcus watched this performance with growing understanding. College student Zoe Carter fumbled with her phone in the corner booth. Her thumb found Facebook Live. Y'all seeing this racism happening right now at Pinnacle Bistro? This manager just threw this black man's money in the trash and now she's treating this white guy like royalty. Excuse me, miss. Rachel's voice cut across the restaurant like a blade. We don't allow filming here. It's company policy. It's a public establishment, Zoe replied, adjusting her angle to capture more of the counter. Not for much longer if you keep that up. I can have you removed for harassment. The threat hung in the air like smoke. Marcus remained perfectly still, watching Rachel serve the businessman his cappuccino in an elegant ceramic cup, while his own coffee sat cooling in a cheap paper-to-go cup despite his explicit request to dine in. The businessman glanced between Marcus and Rachel, clearly uncomfortable with the obvious differential treatment. He collected his drink quickly, avoiding eye contact, and retreated to a corner table. Marcus adjusted his leather portfolio against his ribs. The corner of a first-class boarding pass Delta Sky Club VIP access peeked from the zippered pocket. His iPhone 15 Pro Max buzzed insistently against his chest. Notifications cascaded down the lock screen in rapid succession. Board meeting moved to 3 p.m. Legal documents ready for signature. Acquisition approved. Congratulations. He silenced the phone with a practiced gesture, but not before the platinum American Express Centurion card in his phone case caught overhead light. The distinctive black card gleamed for just a moment. The businessman at the corner table noticed it and did a visible double-take at Marcus's impossibly calm demeanor. Interesting morning, Marcus murmured quietly, more to himself than anyone else. His watch, an understated Patek Philippe Calatrava worth more than most cars, displayed 11:53 a.m. Rachel continued her performance, wiping already spotless surfaces while shooting calculating glances his way. The kitchen staff whispered among themselves in rapid Spanish, stealing looks at the man who'd been publicly humiliated yet seemed strangely unbothered. A server emerged from the kitchen Maria, according to her name tag, carrying a tray of food. She paused, taking in the scene. Her eyes met Marcus's for a split second. He saw recognition there, perhaps empathy. She'd witnessed this before. "Sir," Rachel's voice dripped with false concern like poisoned honey. "You've been standing there quite a while. Are you having some kind of episode? Should I call someone for you?" Marcus's response was measured, each word carefully chosen. "Just observing. Sometimes people reveal exactly who they are when they think there are no consequences." The words landed with quiet weight that seemed to reverberate through the restaurant. Rachel's confident mask flickered for just a moment. Something in his tone, his preternatural stillness, didn't match the narrative she'd constructed in her head. "Well, observe from somewhere else. You're making our other customers uncomfortable with your loitering." Marcus glanced slowly around the restaurant. The businessman at his table pretended to read emails while obviously listening. Zoe continued filming despite Rachel's warnings, her viewer count climbing. An elderly couple near the window whispered behind their menus, the woman shaking her head in disapproval. A mother with 2 young children kept looking between Marcus and Rachel with obvious discomfort. Not at Marcus, but at Rachel's behavior. "I don't think I'm the one making people uncomfortable," Marcus replied with quiet certainty. His portfolio shifted slightly as he adjusted his stance. The official letterhead became visible through the leather Pinnacle Restaurant Group in corporate blue and gold. Rachel was too focused on maintaining her authority performance to notice the irony inches from her face. The health inspector's countdown now reads 5 minutes in increasingly urgent red digits. "Look, I don't know what your game is." "No game." Marcus's voice carried a strange certainty that seemed to unnerve her further. "Just waiting to see how this plays out." Rachel's carefully maintained patience evaporated completely. She grabbed the counter phone with theatrical flair, making sure her performance was visible to everyone in the restaurant. "Security to the front counter immediately. We have an aggressive customer situation requiring immediate intervention." "Aggressive?" Marcus raised an eyebrow, his voice remaining level. "I've been standing here quietly for 5 minutes, making a simple request. Quietly intimidating our staff and customers." Rachel's voice projected across the restaurant like a courthouse lawyer. "Sir, I'm going to need you to leave immediately before this escalates further and I'm forced to involve law enforcement." Zoe's livestream viewer count climbed steadily, 200, 300, 500 viewers. Comments flooded in faster than she could read them. "This is insane. Get his name. Someone called corporate. This is straight-up racism." The hashtag Pinnacle Bistro Racism began appearing in real time across multiple social platforms. "I'd like to file a formal complaint with corporate," Marcus said with professional calm. "Could you provide me with headquarters contact information?" "Our system is down." The lie came effortlessly, practiced. "It has been all morning." Computer problems. How convenient. The dry sarcasm in those 2 words seemed to unnerve her more than any shouting could have. Rachel's confident facade developed visible hairline cracks. She'd expected anger, shouting, threats, anything that would justify her next escalation. Marcus's unnatural calm was deeply unsettling. Security guard Joe Martinez emerged from the back office, a burly man in his 50s whose uniform strained against his considerable gut, his eyes immediately fixed on Marcus like he was obviously the problem source. "What's the situation here?" "This individual has been harassing staff and refusing to leave when repeatedly asked," Rachel explained smoothly, her story already perfected. "He's been standing there making everyone uncomfortable for over 15 minutes. Joe nodded with practiced professional authority. Sir, I'm going to have to ask you to exit the premises immediately. For standing quietly and attempting to file a complaint? For trespassing after being asked to leave private property? The legal terminology felt rehearsed, polished. This wasn't Joe's first rodeo with problem customers. Marcus glanced at the health inspection timer. 2 minutes flashed urgently. Before I go, Marcus said slowly, his voice carrying an odd finality, there's something everyone should probably know. Rachel's eyes narrowed dangerously. We're not interested in threats or dramatics. Not a threat. Just context that might be relevant. The restaurant held its collective breath. Zoe's phone captured everything. The businessman stopped pretending to check email. Even the kitchen staff had gone quiet, sensing something significant was about to happen. Marcus reached deliberately for his leather portfolio. I wouldn't do that if I were you, Joe warned, his hand moving instinctively toward his radio. Keep your hands visible. Just getting my business card, Marcus said with perfect calm. His fingers found the leather zipper. The sound seemed unnaturally loud in the sudden silence. The zipper's metallic whisper cut through the silence like a knife. Marcus's hand moved with deliberate slowness, each motion calculated to maximize suspense. Rachel's eyes locked onto the portfolio like it might explode. Step away from whatever you're reaching for, Joe commanded, his radio crackling to life. Security situation at front counter. Request immediate backup. Marcus paused, his fingers still on the zipper pull. I'm simply retrieving identification, as requested. The health inspection timer flashed 90 seconds in blood-red digits. Through the kitchen pass, Inspector Williams appeared, a stern woman in her 50s clutching a clipboard, clearly annoyed by the commotion disrupting her carefully planned schedule. What's the delay here? She called out sharply. I have 3 more locations today and I'm already running behind. Rachel's head snapped toward the kitchen, panic flashing across her features like lightning. The inspection she'd been dreading was happening during her worst possible moment. Sweat beaded on her forehead despite the restaurant's aggressive air conditioning. No delay, Inspector, she called back, voice strained and artificial. Just handling a minor customer service issue. Handle it faster. I start docking points for operational disruptions. This chaos is affecting your staff's focus. The threat landed like a physical blow. Pinnacle Bistro's profit margins depended entirely on maintaining their pristine health grade. Rachel's job, her career, her entire future depended on that inspection going smoothly. Her carefully constructed authority was crumbling from multiple directions simultaneously. Marcus watched this exchange with growing interest, his expression unreadable. Seems like poor timing. Shut up, Rachel hissed, then immediately caught herself. The professional mask was slipping badly. Sir, please just leave quietly and we can forget this whole misunderstanding. What misunderstanding exactly? Marcus's voice carried deadly calm. You threw my money in the trash. Called it worthless. Treated me like garbage in front of everyone here. His eyes swept the restaurant deliberately. These people witnessed everything. They're filming everything. Zoe's live stream had exploded to 1,200 viewers and was climbing rapidly. Comments poured in faster than she could read. This is going viral. Someone identifies this restaurant. Call the local news. Get the corporate number. This is insane racism. The hashtag Pinnacle Bistro Racism was spreading across Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram simultaneously. The businessman at the corner table had abandoned all pretense of working on his laptop. His iPhone was out, recording everything at multiple angles. Even the elderly couple had stopped eating their salads, watching the drama unfold with wide, shocked eyes. 3 more customers entered the restaurant, a young professional couple in matching business attire, and an older man in an expensive charcoal suit that screamed executive authority. They immediately sensed the thick tension, their conversation dying as they took in the scene before them. Folks, please take any available table, Rachel called out, her voice artificially bright and desperately cheerful. We'll be with you momentarily. The new customers exchanged concerned glances but remained standing near the entrance, unsure whether to stay or flee. The man in the expensive suit looked familiar. His face carried the unmistakable authority of someone used to being recognized instantly. Joe stepped closer to Marcus, attempting to regain control of the rapidly deteriorating situation. "Sir, I'm going to count to 3. Quote. Officer Rodriguez is en route," came the crackling voice through his radio. "ETA 4 minutes, requesting situation details." Marcus's eyebrow raised with what might have been amusement. "You called the police? For someone requesting to file a complaint?" "You're trespassing on private property," Joe replied, though his conviction was visibly wavering. The situation felt increasingly wrong, even to his experienced instincts. "On what legal grounds?" "I made a legitimate purchase, received discriminatory service, and requested to speak with management about filing a formal complaint." "Which specific part constitutes criminal trespassing?" The legal precision of Marcus's language seemed to genuinely unnerve Joe. This wasn't the typical problem customer he usually dealt with. Those people shouted, made threats, lost control. This man spoke like a lawyer. Inspector Williams emerged from the kitchen, her clipboard now thick with violation notices. Her expression was thunderous. "Miss Morrison, I need you to address these critical sanitation issues immediately. The hand-washing station lacks proper soap dispensers. 3 prep surfaces show cross-contamination risk. Your staff appears insufficiently trained on basic health protocols, and your food storage temperatures are dangerously inconsistent." Rachel's face went completely white. Each violation could cost thousands in fines, not to mention the potential devastating downgrade in their health rating. "Inspector, I can explain everything. Explanations don't fix health code violations. I need immediate corrective action, not excuses." The timer now read 45 seconds. And Rachel was drowning, caught between the health inspector demanding her immediate attention, the security situation spiraling completely out of control, and the viral live stream broadcasting her professional humiliation across social media platforms. Marcus observed this escalating chaos with the patience of someone watching a perfectly orchestrated plan unfold exactly as expected. His portfolio remained partially unzipped, its contents still hidden but somehow radiating an almost supernatural menace. "Perhaps," he said quietly, his voice carrying across the silent restaurant, "we should wait for the police. Let them sort out who actually belongs here and who doesn't." The words carried an undertone that made Rachel's blood run cold. There was something in his absolute, unshakable confidence that didn't fit the narrative she'd constructed. Homeless people, drifters, troublemakers. They didn't speak with legal precision. They didn't carry themselves with this unnerving calm. The man in the expensive suit near the door stepped forward purposefully. "Excuse me, but isn't this Pinnacle Bistro?" His voice carried unmistakable authority, like someone accustomed to being answered immediately and completely. "Yes, sir," Rachel replied, desperately grateful for what seemed like a normal customer interaction. "How can we help you today?" "I'm Robert Carter, Regional Director for the Metro Restaurant Association." "I was supposed to meet someone here about a potential multi-million-dollar partnership opportunity." His sharp eyes swept the chaotic scene, the security guard, the filming college student, the police sirens growing louder, the man with the mysterious portfolio. "Is this your normal operating procedure?" Rachel's world tilted further off its axis. The Metro Restaurant Association controlled licensing and partnerships for dozens of major restaurant chains across the region. Their approval could make or break a location overnight. "Mr. Carter, please, this is just a minor situation we're handling professionally." "It doesn't look minor from where I'm standing." Carter's voice was ice-cold professional disapproval. "It looks like blatant discriminatory treatment being live-streamed to hundreds of viewers, possibly thousands." Zoe looked up from her phone screen, eyes wide. 1,800 viewers now, and climbing fast. The number hit Rachel like a physical blow to the stomach. Her career, her reputation, the restaurant's carefully cultivated image, everything was being systematically destroyed in real time by people she couldn't control or silence. Health inspection complete, the digital timer flashed, then went ominously dark. Inspector Williams returned from the kitchen, her expression grimmer than before. Miss Morrison, Pinnacle Bistro receives a conditional pass pending immediate remediation of 14 separate health code violations. You have exactly 72 hours to address these critical issues or face mandatory closure proceedings. 14 violations. Rachel's knees nearly buckled under the weight of the news. The number was absolutely catastrophic enough to trigger corporate investigation, potential franchise termination, and personal liability for operational failures. 14. Her voice was barely a whisper. Staff hygiene protocols, equipment maintenance, food storage temperatures, sanitation procedures, pest control measures. Shall I continue reading the complete list? Marcus shifted his weight slightly. The subtle movement drew every single eye in the restaurant like a magnet. His portfolio crinkled softly, papers rustling inside like deadly promises waiting to be revealed. Interesting timing, he murmured again, that same phrase that seemed to carry multiple layers of hidden meaning. Police sirens wailed in the distance, growing steadily louder and more urgent. Officer Rodriguez was arriving to sort out a trespassing situation that was beginning to look far less clear-cut by the minute. Rachel realized with growing horror that she'd made a cascading series of catastrophic mistakes. The health inspection failure, the viral live stream. The Metro Restaurant Association director witnessed everything. And somehow, impossibly, at the center of it all, this quiet man with his mysterious portfolio seemed to be orchestrating her complete destruction with supernatural calm. The kitchen staff had emerged from the back, drawn by the commotion. Maria, the server, stood with her arms crossed, watching Rachel's downfall with undisguised satisfaction. She'd seen this behavior before, suffered under it herself. Maybe, Marcus said softly, his voice cutting through the chaos like a blade. We should all wait to see what's in here before anyone makes decisions they can't unmake. His fingers resumed their slow, deliberate movement on the zipper. The sound seemed unnaturally loud in the tense restaurant. The sirens were getting much closer. The zipper opened with deliberate precision. Marcus's fingers moved like a surgeon's, each motion calculated for maximum psychological impact. The restaurant held its collective breath. Even the kitchen staff had gone completely silent. He withdrew a single business card first. Pristine white cardstock with embossed gold lettering. He placed it on the marble counter between himself and Rachel with the ceremony of laying down a royal flush. Rachel's eyes dropped to read it. Her face went from white to gray to green in rapid succession. Marcus Thompson, CEO, Thompson Hospitality Solutions. The words hit her like physical blows to the chest. Below them, smaller text. Specializing in restaurant acquisitions and operational restructuring. Joe squinted at the card over Rachel's shoulder, his authority visibly crumbling. His hand moved slowly away from his radio. What's Thompson Hospitality Solutions? Marcus's voice remained perfectly calm, each word measured. We acquire underperforming restaurant properties. Turn them around. Sometimes that involves significant staffing changes. The police sirens had stopped outside. Car doors slammed shut. Heavy footsteps approached the entrance with unmistakable authority. That's impossible, Rachel whispered, her voice barely audible above the air conditioning. You're nobody. You're just some guy who can't afford coffee. Marcus reached into his portfolio again, his movements unhurried despite the gathering crowd. This time he withdrew a thick leather document folder, heavy with official papers. The top sheet was visible corporate letterhead in navy blue and gold. Pinnacle Restaurant Group, Asset Acquisition Agreement. Rachel's eyes focused on the document like she was reading her own death warrant. The amount was clearly visible in bold numbers. $2.3 million, cash purchase, finalized. The closing was this morning, Marcus said conversationally, checking his Patek Philippe. 9:47 a.m., to be precise. I am now the sole owner of Pinnacle Bistro and all its assets. The restaurant erupted in shocked whispers and gasps. Zoe's phone nearly slipped from her trembling hands. The live stream comments exploded beyond her ability to read them. Holy shit! He owns the place! Plot twist of the century! Rachel is done! Officer Rodriguez entered, a tall Latina in her 40s with sharp eyes that immediately assessed the chaotic scene. Someone called about a trespassing situation? Marcus turned to face her calmly, extending his hand. Officer Rodriguez, I'm Marcus Thompson. I own this restaurant as of this morning. He handed her his business card and the acquisition documents. This manager threw my money in the trash and had me threatened with arrest for attempting to file a complaint about discriminatory service. Rodriguez examined the documents carefully, her trained eyes checking watermarks and signatures. Her expression shifted dramatically as the legal implications became crystal clear. These look completely legitimate. Ms. Morrison, Rachel croaked, her world crashing down around her in slow motion. Miss Morrison, you called to report trespassing by the property owner? Rachel's mouth opened and closed like a fish drowning in air. No words came out. Her brain couldn't process the reversal. Robert Carter stepped forward decisively, his corporate instincts fully engaged. Officer, I'm Robert Carter with the Metro Restaurant Association. I witnessed this entire incident from start to finish. This manager exhibited clear discriminatory behavior, threw the owner's money in garbage, and created an actively hostile environment. Marcus reached into his portfolio one final time. He withdrew a manila folder labeled Operational Assessment, Confidential in red letters. I came here today for a routine inspection before taking operational control tomorrow. What I discovered was deeply illuminating. He opened the folder with theatrical precision, revealing dozens of photographs. Security camera screenshots showing Rachel's behavior with previous customers over months. A documented pattern of discrimination in painful, undeniable detail. These images are from your own security system, Miss Morrison, downloaded this morning during the ownership transfer process. His voice carried quiet authority that filled the restaurant. Incident after incident. Always the exact same pattern of behavior. Rachel stared at the photos like they were evidence of war crimes. Her career, her reputation, her entire future, all of it evaporating in real time before dozens of witnesses and hundreds of live stream viewers. Marcus continued with surgical precision, each revelation cutting deeper. There's also this comprehensive file. He produced a thick stack of customer complaints bound with legal ribbons. 47 formal complaints filed with corporate headquarters in the past 18 months alone, all describing identical treatment, all systematically ignored by management. Inspector Williams stepped forward, her professional curiosity fully piqued. Mr. Thompson, those health violations I documented today, 14 separate infractions. Were you aware of these operational deficiencies? I suspected systematic problems. That's precisely why I conducted personal reconnaissance before taking operational control. Marcus's eyes found Rachel's and held them. I wanted to observe the operation at its most authentic level. The devastating weight of his words settled over everyone like a heavy funeral shroud. This hadn't been random bad luck. This had been a deliberate, calculated test. A professional evaluation that Rachel had failed more spectacularly than anyone could have imagined. Joe looked deeply confused and embarrassed. Sir, I sincerely apologize. I had no idea. You did exactly what you were trained to do, Marcus replied without malice or condescension. Respond to management's emergency call. Assess the situation based on their information. The systemic failure wasn't yours. Officer Rodriguez was taking detailed notes. Miss Morrison, filing a false police report is a Class A misdemeanor. Discrimination in a place of public accommodation constitutes a civil rights violation. Do you understand the serious legal implications of what happened here? Rachel finally found her voice, though it came out as a whisper. I didn't know. How was I supposed to know who he was? You weren't supposed to know, Marcus said with devastating simplicity. That was entirely the point of this exercise. How you treated someone you perceived as powerless revealed your authentic character. The businessman who'd witnessed the differential treatment approached hesitantly. Mr. Thompson, I saw everything from beginning to end. The way she treated you versus how she immediately served me. Same clothes, same appearance, completely different service. It was deeply disturbing. Marcus nodded acknowledgement. Thank you for staying to witness the resolution. Zoe looked up from her phone, eyes wide with disbelief. 2,300 viewers now and climbing. This is literally the most insane thing I've ever seen in my life. The elderly couple approached the counter together. The woman spoke in a voice shaking with righteous anger. Young man, that was the most disgraceful behavior we've witnessed in 50 years of dining out. That manager should be utterly ashamed. She threw your hard-earned money away like garbage, the man added, his voice carrying decades of authority. In our day, that would have been grounds for immediate termination. Marcus smiled genuinely for the first time since entering the restaurant. In our day too, sir. Thank you. Rachel's legs finally gave out completely. She grabbed the counter for support, her carefully constructed world lying in complete ruins around her feet. Robert Carter pulled out his business card with obvious respect. Mr. Thompson, the Metro Restaurant Association would be deeply honored to discuss partnership opportunities with someone of your demonstrated integrity. I'd welcome that conversation, Marcus replied warmly. Officer Rodriguez closed her notepad with finality. Miss Morrison, I strongly suggest you consult with an attorney immediately. Mr. Thompson, do you wish to press formal charges for filing a false report? Marcus looked at Rachel, truly looked at her for the first time since this began. She was young, probably overwhelmed, definitely in over her head. But the casual cruelty she'd displayed wasn't born from stress or inexperience. It came from somewhere much deeper and darker. Officer, I believe Miss Morrison has learned something vitally important today. Sometimes natural consequences teach more effectively than criminal charges. Rachel looked up at him with something approaching desperate gratitude, then immediately looked away in crushing shame. However, Marcus continued, his voice carrying unmistakable steel, her employment at this establishment is terminated immediately, effective at this moment. The words fell like a judge's final gavel. The silence that followed Marcus's termination announcement was deafening. Rachel stood frozen behind the counter, her manager's badge suddenly feeling like a scarlet letter. Marcus opened his portfolio one final time, withdrawing a thick manila envelope marked Confidential Board Presentation. His movements were methodical, professional, devastating in their precision. Before we proceed with operational changes, he announced to the gathered crowd, I think everyone deserves to understand the full scope of what happened here today. He spread documents across the marble counter like a prosecutor laying out evidence. The first sheet bore the Thompson Hospitality Solutions letterhead and a title that made Rachel's blood freeze. Pinnacle Bistro Operational Assessment. Discrimination Audit. Thompson Hospitality Solutions specializes in acquiring struggling restaurant properties, Marcus began, his voice carrying the authority of a boardroom presentation. Our due diligence process includes comprehensive operational assessments. Today's visit was the final phase of that evaluation. Officer Rodriguez stepped closer, her professional curiosity engaged. You mean this was planned? Partially. I needed to observe authentic customer service practices before finalizing staffing decisions. Marcus's eyes swept the restaurant. What I witnessed exceeded my worst projections. He pointed to the first document, a detailed financial analysis. Pinnacle Bistro generates $1.8 million annually with a 47% profit margin. However, customer retention rates have declined 23% over 18 months, directly correlating with discrimination complaints. Robert Carter whistled low. That's catastrophic customer loss. Indeed. The financial impact of discriminatory practices isn't just moral, it's devastating to bottom-line performance. Marcus turned to the next document. Market share analysis shows Pinnacle represents 0.3% of my restaurant portfolio, but generates 67% of all discrimination complaints across 7 properties. Rachel's face had gone completely ashen. She was witnessing the systematic destruction of not just her career, but the reputation of the entire location. Marcus continued with surgical precision. Employment contracts for all Pinnacle management positions include comprehensive morality clauses, effective immediately upon ownership transfer. He produced a legal document thick with corporate seal impressions. Section 4.2 specifically addresses discriminatory conduct as grounds for immediate termination without severance. Joe, the security guard, shifted uncomfortably. Sir, does that include security personnel? Your response today was based on false information provided by management. You followed protocol. Miss Morrison, however, violated federal civil rights statutes and company policy simultaneously. Inspector Williams approached the counter, her clipboard still heavy with violations. Mr. Thompson, those 14 health code violations I documented, are they related to management practices? Directly correlated. Poor leadership creates systemic failures. Marcus opened another folder. Hidden camera footage from the past 90 days shows consistent protocol violations under Miss Morrison's supervision. He produced a tablet, swiping through time-stamped videos, staff ignoring hand-washing procedures, food prep surfaces left contaminated, temperature logs falsified, each violation time-stamped and documented with devastating precision. Corporate investigation procedures require comprehensive documentation, Marcus explained. Every violation has been cataloged, photographed, and legally preserved. Rachel found her voice, though it came out as a desperate whisper. You can't do this. You can't just destroy someone's life over one mistake. Marcus turned to face her directly. Miss Morrison, this wasn't one mistake. These documents show 47 documented complaints over 18 months. 47 people who experienced exactly what I experienced today. He opened the complaint file, spreading customer statements across the counter. Each one detailed identical treatment, discriminatory service, hostile behavior, deliberate humiliation. Sarah Williams filed March 15th. Manager threw my change on the floor, told me this wasn't McDonald's. Rachel's face crumpled as Marcus read. James Patterson filed June 3rd. Manager told me I should try the soup kitchen down the street. The exact phrases Rachel had used today. The pattern was undeniable, systematic, deliberately cruel. Marcus Johnson filed August 12th. Manager wiped down counter with disinfectant after I paid, like I was contaminated. Each complaint was a mirror image of today's incident. The restaurant staff watched in stunned silence as the scope of Rachel's behavior became clear. Zoe's livestream viewer count had climbed to 3,500. Comments flooded in. This is justice. She's been doing this for over a year. Finally getting exposed. Marcus closed the complaint file and reached for his final document, a legal ultimatum printed on official Thompson Hospitality letterhead. Miss Morrison, you have 2 options. Option 1, accept immediate termination, sign a non-disclosure agreement, and receive 2 weeks severance despite contract violations. Rachel looked up hopefully. Option 2, face public civil rights lawsuit, federal discrimination charges, and corporate investigation that will become public record. The hope died in her eyes. You have 60 seconds to decide. Robert Carter stepped forward. Mr. Thompson, the Metro Restaurant Association has specific protocols for handling discrimination cases. This level of systematic abuse triggers mandatory industry reporting. I'm aware. Thompson Hospitality maintains zero-tolerance policies across all properties. Marcus checked his watch. 45 seconds, Ms. Morrison Officer Rodriguez was taking detailed notes. Sir, if you proceed with criminal charges, the police department will conduct a full investigation. Other victims may come forward. Marcus nodded. I've already contacted legal counsel. This pattern of behavior constitutes criminal harassment under state statutes. Rachel's hands were shaking as she reached for the termination agreement. Where do I sign? One moment. Marcus held up his hand. First, you owe someone an apology. He pointed toward the trash bin where Rachel had thrown his money nearly an hour ago. Retrieve my money. All of it. Then apologize to everyone who witnessed your behavior. Rachel's humiliation was complete. With dozens of witnesses and hundreds of live stream viewers watching, she knelt behind the counter and dug through coffee grounds and food scraps to retrieve Marcus's $47.83. Her hands were stained with garbage as she placed the crumpled bills and dirty coins on the counter. I'm sorry, she whispered. Louder, Marcus commanded, so everyone can hear. I'm sorry, Rachel's voice cracked. I was wrong. I treated you terribly and I'm sorry. Marcus accepted the money and placed it carefully in his wallet. Apology acknowledged but not accepted. Some actions have consequences that sorry cannot repair. He handed her the termination agreement. Rachel signed it with trembling hands. Security will escort you out, Marcus announced. Your personal belongings will be mailed to your address on file. Joe stepped forward reluctantly. Ma'am, I need you to come with me. As Rachel was led away, the restaurant staff began applauding. Customers joined in. Even Inspector Williams was nodding approvingly. Marcus raised his hand for silence. The real work starts now, he announced. This restaurant will become a model for inclusive service. Every employee will receive sensitivity training. Every complaint will be investigated. Every customer will be treated with dignity. He turned to address the kitchen staff directly. Those of you who witnessed discrimination and said nothing, you have one opportunity to be part of the solution. Mandatory bias training begins tomorrow morning. Maria, the server, stepped forward. Mr. Thompson, we wanted to speak up, but we were afraid of losing our jobs. That culture ends today, Marcus replied firmly. Open communication, respectful treatment, professional excellence, those are our new standards. Robert Carter approached with his business card. Mr. Thompson, the Metro Restaurant Association would like to feature Pinnacle Bistro as a case study in operational transformation. I welcome that partnership. Officer Rodriguez closed her notepad. Sir, this was handled with remarkable professionalism. The police department commends your restraint and systematic approach. Marcus smiled for the second time that day. Justice doesn't always require punishment. Sometimes it requires change. As the crowd began to disperse, Zoe approached with her phone still recording. Mr. Thompson, anything you want to say to the 4,000 people watching? Marcus looked directly into the camera. Dignity is non-negotiable. Respect is universal. And sometimes, the person you underestimate has the power to change everything. 3 hours later, Pinnacle Bistro hummed with purposeful energy. Rachel's humiliating exit had been broadcast to over 6,000 live stream viewers, but Marcus had already shifted focus from punishment to transformation. He stood behind the same counter where his money had been thrown away, now addressing the entire staff. Kitchen workers, servers, maintenance crew, everyone gathered in a circle of nervous anticipation. Effective immediately, Pinnacle Bistro operates under the Respect Initiative, Marcus announced, holding up a professionally printed handbook. Recognize dignity in every customer. Embrace inclusive service. Sustain professional excellence. Prevent discrimination. Enforce accountability. Champion transformation. Maria, the server who'd witnessed Rachel's behavior for months, raised her hand tentatively. Mr. Thompson, what happens to those of us who didn't speak up before? You get the opportunity to be part of the solution, Marcus replied without judgment. Silence born from fear of job loss is understandable. Choosing to remain silent going forward is unacceptable. He opened his laptop, revealing a comprehensive training program. Every employee will complete 40 hours of bias awareness training over the next 30 days. Paid training, during work hours, no exceptions. The relief in the room was palpable. Jobs were safe, improvement was expected, but punishment wasn't the goal. Additionally, Marcus continued, we're implementing the Pinnacle Promise app. Every customer interaction gets rated in real time. Complaints escalated directly to my office within 15 minutes. He demonstrated the tablet system customers could rate service anonymously, leave specific feedback, even upload photos or videos of concerning behavior. Transparency breeds accountability, Marcus explained. When everyone knows they're being evaluated fairly, service quality improves dramatically. Inspector Williams, who had remained to observe the transition, approached with updated documentation. Mr. Thompson, I've reviewed your remediation plan for those 14 health violations. If implemented as outlined, Pinnacle Bistro will exceed industry standards within 60 days. We're not aiming to meet standards, Marcus replied. We're setting new ones. He turned to address the kitchen staff directly. Carlos, you're promoted to head chef. Maria, you're now assistant manager. Your job is to ensure every customer receives the same excellent service, regardless of how they look, sound, or dress. The promotions were strategic people who'd witnessed discrimination were now empowered to prevent it. Robert Carter had remained throughout the transition, taking detailed notes. Mr. Thompson, the Metro Restaurant Association has never seen operational transformation happen this quickly. Would you be willing to present this model at our annual conference? Absolutely. But first, we need to prove it works. Marcus's phone buzzed with a call from his legal team. He stepped aside briefly, returning with news that made everyone's attention sharpen. Rachel Morrison has been banned from employment at any Thompson hospitality property nationwide. Additionally, her termination has been reported to the State Restaurant Workers Registry as required by discrimination statutes. The finality was sobering but necessary. Actions had consequences that extended beyond a single location. However, Marcus continued, his tone shifting toward possibility. Redemption is always possible. If Miss Morrison completes certified sensitivity training and demonstrates genuine change, that ban can be reconsidered in 2 years. Even in victory, Marcus chose education over permanent destruction. Zoe, who had been documenting everything, looked up from her phone. Mr. Thompson, the hashtag Pinnacle Transformation is trending. People are calling this the most satisfying justice video they've ever seen. Justice isn't about satisfaction, Marcus replied thoughtfully. It's about creating systems that prevent future harm. He pulled out architectural plans from his portfolio renovation designs that would transform the restaurant's atmosphere entirely. These changes will be completed within 90 days. Open kitchen design so customers can see food preparation. Community seating that encourages interaction across all demographics. Digital menu boards with multiple languages. The physical space would reflect the cultural transformation. Most importantly, Marcus announced, we're establishing the Pinnacle Partnership Fund. $500,000 annually to support minority-owned local suppliers, community organizations, and employee education programs. Gasps echoed through the room. $500,000 dedicated to community impact. Discrimination isn't just morally wrong, it's economically stupid, Marcus explained. Diverse communities have diverse needs. Businesses that serve everyone well profit from everyone well. Officer Rodriguez, who had stayed to complete her incident report, approached with professional admiration. Mr. Thompson, I've handled hundreds of discrimination cases. Most end in lawsuits and bitterness. This is the first time I've seen transformation instead of just punishment. Punishment without education just creates hidden resentment, Marcus replied. Systemic change requires systematic solutions. As the afternoon wore on, word of the transformation spread beyond social media. Local news crews arrived. Community leaders stopped by. Regular customers returned, curious about the changes they'd heard about online. By 4 p.m., Pinnacle Bistro was busier than it had been in months. But more importantly, the atmosphere had completely changed. The staff moved with purpose. Customers were greeted warmly regardless of appearance. The toxic culture that had festered under Rachel's management was being replaced with something healthier. Marcus watched from a corner booth as Maria served a homeless veteran with the same attention she'd given a business executive. Carlos emerged from the kitchen to personally check on an elderly black couple's meal. The transformation wasn't just policy, it was becoming practice. "Excuse me, Mr. Thompson?" Marcus looked up to see a young black woman in professional attire. "I'm Jennifer Washington from Channel 7 News. Could we speak about what happened here today?" "Of course, but let me be clear. This story isn't about punishment or revenge. It's about the power of ownership to create positive change." The interview would frame the narrative correctly. This wasn't about destroying one person. It was about building better systems. As evening approached, Marcus prepared to leave his transformed restaurant. The staff was confident, the customers were satisfied, and the foundation for lasting change had been laid. Before departing, he approached the trash bin where his money had been thrown hours earlier. He dropped a $100 bill inside, then smiled at the symbolism. "Sometimes," he said to Maria, who was watching curiously, "you have to throw away the old system to build something better." The money would go toward employee bonuses. The gesture was pure Marcus transforming a site of humiliation into a symbol of generosity. Walking toward the exit, Marcus paused at the counter where everything had begun. The marble surface had been thoroughly cleaned, but the memory of discrimination would serve as a permanent reminder of why vigilance mattered. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, but tonight, dignity had been restored and justice had taken the form of positive transformation rather than destructive revenge. The intellectual victory was complete. 6 months later, Marcus stood in the same spot where his money had been thrown into the trash. The transformation was breathtaking. Pinnacle Bistro buzzed with diverse energy. Black professionals shared tables with white college students. Latino families celebrated birthdays alongside Asian business executives. The open kitchen allowed customers to watch Carlos's team prepare meals with obvious pride and care. Maria approached with the monthly performance report, her assistant manager badge gleaming with earned authority. "Customer satisfaction is up 89%, sir. Revenue increased 34% this quarter. But most importantly," she smiled, "we've had 0 discrimination complaints in 6 months." Marcus nodded, scanning the data that proved systematic change actually worked. "What about staff retention?" 100% retention rate. 3 employees have enrolled in college using our education fund. 2 others started their own catering businesses with our small business loan program. The ripple effects extended far beyond one restaurant. Robert Carter entered, carrying a thick folder marked Industry Excellence Award. His smile was enormous. "Marcus, the Metro Restaurant Association has selected Pinnacle Bistro as Inclusive Business of the Year. You're not just running a restaurant anymore, you're setting industry standards." The recognition felt satisfying, but Marcus was more interested in sustainable impact than awards. How many other restaurants have adopted the Respect initiative? 47 locations across 3 states. The Pinnacle Promise app has been downloaded by 200-plus restaurants. Your model is spreading faster than we anticipated. Systematic change was becoming industry transformation. Zoe Carter approached their table, now working as Pinnacle's social media coordinator. Her viral live stream had launched a career in digital storytelling. Mr. Thompson, the 6-month follow-up video just hit 500,000 views. People want to know whatever happened to Rachel Morrison? Marcus paused thoughtfully. She completed the sensitivity training program I recommended, found work at a community center helping formerly incarcerated individuals develop job skills. Last month, she sent me a handwritten apology letter. Are you considering removing the employment ban? Next month, actually. Everyone deserves a second chance if they've done the work to earn it. Even in victory, Marcus chose forgiveness over permanent punishment. Inspector Williams emerged from the kitchen, her clipboard nearly empty this time. Annual health inspection complete. Pinnacle Bistro receives the highest rating possible, and I'm recommending you for the State Excellence Award. The contrast with that chaotic day 6 months ago couldn't have been starker. As the evening crowd gathered, Marcus reflected on the broader implications of that pivotal moment. One incident of discrimination had catalyzed industry-wide change. The viral video had sparked conversations in corporate boardrooms, community meetings, and family dinners across the country. His phone buzzed with a text from his legal team. Settlement reached with 23 previous discrimination victims. Total compensation, $1.2 million. All accusers are satisfied with restaurant improvements. Justice had taken the form of both accountability and restoration. A young black teenager approached hesitantly. "Excuse me, are you the owner? I saw your video online. It gave me courage to report discrimination at my job. They fired the manager and promoted me to supervisor." Stories like this arrived weekly. The ripple effects continued expanding beyond anything Marcus had imagined. As closing time approached, Marcus gathered the entire staff for their weekly reflection meeting. 6 months ago, this restaurant was a place where people's dignity was routinely violated. Tonight, it's a place where dignity is celebrated. That transformation happened because you chose to be part of the solution. The staff beamed with genuine pride. But our work isn't finished. Discrimination still exists in thousands of restaurants, hotels, stores, and offices across America. Every time you treat a customer with respect, you're proving that inclusive service isn't just morally right, it's economically smart. Maria raised her hand. "Mr. Thompson, what's next for Pinnacle?" "We're opening 5 more locations next year. Each one will be built from the ground up with inclusive design and practices. We're not just running restaurants. We're demonstrating that businesses can be forces for positive social change." The vision was expanding from one location to a movement. As the team prepared to leave, Marcus walked to the framed photo on the wall, a screenshot from Zoe's live stream showing the moment his true identity was revealed. Below it, a simple caption. "Sometimes the person you underestimate has the power to change everything." The image served as a daily reminder that assumptions could be deadly and dignity was non-negotiable. Looking directly at the security camera that now streamed to his Black Tales Stories social media platforms, Marcus addressed the audience he knew was watching. If you've witnessed discrimination in restaurants, retail stores, or any business, don't stay silent. Document it. Report it. Share your story. Change happens when people refuse to accept unacceptable behavior. He paused, letting the words sink in. Every share of this story creates awareness. Every comment builds solidarity. Every subscription to Black Tales Stories supports more investigations into discrimination and more stories of people who turned humiliation into transformation. His expression grew more serious. Remember, your dignity is non-negotiable. Your voice matters. And sometimes, the person treating you poorly has no idea who you really are or what power you possess. The final message was both warning and inspiration. Until next time, this is Marcus Thompson reminding you that respect is earned through action, change comes through ownership, and justice looks like systems that protect everyone's dignity. The camera faded to black as Marcus's quiet revolution continued spreading, one restaurant, one story, one transformed life at a time.